Hi everyone, this is a brief introduction to R, RStudio, and R Markdown. R is an open source implementation of S statistical computing language. It's great for data exploration, making beautiful graphs, doing statistical modeling. It's flexible and one of the object-oriented programming languages such as C++, Java, and Python. One of the disadvantages of R, like any other command-driven system, is that it has a steep learning curve. In order to do any kind of data analysis or graphing in R, you need to have a basic level of comfort or understanding of the functions and the arguments that are being used in this particular language. And my hope and the goal of this particular course is to help you get over that obstacle, and so that you are, by the end of the semester, you are comfortable using this language for doing data analysis. One of the many advantages of using R is that it's free both as in free speech and also as in free beer. The users have the freedom to run, copy, distribute, study, change, and improve the software. So not only you can download it free from the internet, you can also develop your own libraries, packages, and fix bugs in other people's packages. So you can contribute in many ways in the improvement of this language. Some of the other advantages of using R are that it is great for collaboration. It doesn't depend on any type of operating system. You can use it on Windows and Mac and Linux systems. It's very easy to download. It's very flexible, produces excellent graphics. It has one of the largest user base, so it has a very rich user support and the documentation that comes along with it. And as it is a community developed or community driven platform, it's always improving. In contrast, if you're using a point and click software, it has great advantages, including that you don't need to remember names of the arguments and you have lower chances of syntax and typing errors. But one of the major disadvantages of point-and-click system is that you can easily get an output by clicking on certain menu options, but you don't know exactly what was going on behind the box and what you did. So often the reproduction of the analysis that you have conducted is very difficult. So reproducibility is a big obstacle. Then also these softwares are less flexible. If you don't have the option to do a certain analysis in that software, you cannot create your own analysis and plug it into that software. And not always, but often these softwares are costly and you have to purchase them, so they are not free. So for this course, we will use open data and open tools to learn how we can analyze landscape scale data. And if you go to this link, it will take you to this web page, and you go here and say download R, and it will take you to a site where there are several grand mirrors, and I usually go to the one that is closest to me, that is in Texas. You go here and you have three choices. I have a Mac operating system, but depending on what system you have, you can go here and you click on this package and it will download a file on your computer. And once the file is downloaded, you just double click on it, and depending on the system you have, you will have different options. One note, if you're not administrator on your computer, and sometimes if you are using a Windows machine, by default it will not allow you to run the program. So all you have to do is the right click on the downloaded file and click on Run as Administrator. And if you're not administrator on your computer, then you will have to ask the administrator to install these programs for you on your computer. So let's go back to our presentation. Okay, so now you have downloaded and installed R. So our environment, when you double click on the installed program or go through the menu and select R, it will open up our console that will tell you about what version of R it is, and it will give you a little bit more information about R. So R command window or console, or you can also call it graphical user interface, GUI, will look like this. And this space is called the R workspace. So you see this greater than symbol, you type your commands here, and it will store all of that unless you exit out of the software. But if you have done a lot of work in this console, you may want to save it. So all of the commands you have entered in one session in R, you can save them as .r data files, or you can save them as a workspace. And next time when you load your software again, you will see something like this. It says workspace restored from this place and .r data file. But instead of saving the workspace, I prefer that you use a script to type your commands instead of typing them on the console. So your script is a text file that contains a set of commands that you will enter on the command line of R. And if you can, in a script, if you put a hashtag before a line, R will understand that the text or the numbers that are coming after this hashtag symbol, they are the annotations or the notes for yourself, and anything that doesn't have hashtag in front of it will be considered as the command for R to perform. So, but in this course, we will not work in our console, we will work in RStudio. So what I want you to do now is to go to RStudio website and download RStudio. So I would encourage you to choose the free version. Depending on what type of operating system you have, Windows, Mac, Linux, which version of Linux, you can download a file, and at the same process as before, you will download the file and you will have RStudio app on your computer. So let's go back. So now you have R and RStudio on your computer. RStudio is an integrated development environment for R, so it just gives you a better graphical user interface. It puts your space where you have your script, console at the bottom, you have different variables that you have already entered. They will come under these different tabs, and the history of the commands that you have used. On the bottom right hand side, you will have a place where it will show you your directory, what files are in your directory. If you have created any plots, they will be here. If you want to install any packages, easy way to install the packages is from here, but we will learn to install packages from command line too. So in this course, we will work in RStudio desktop, but we will use R Markdown files to generate the output. And R Markdown is a simple formatting syntax for authoring a variety of documents. So for example, if you look at this HTML document, you will have this lesson in your lab 8. So it can incorporate different types of headings. You can have text, you can have the R commands, you can have videos, you can have images. So you can produce a lot of different types of documents using R Markdown. And if you are interested in learning about different styling tips and what else can you do with it, then I encourage you to click on this book. This is an active link, or you can go down to this link. When you click on this link, it will take you to this R Markdown, the definitive guide. And one of the great things about R Markdown is that you can write things collaboratively with other people. And so for example, this is a R Markdown guide, and if you find some typo or you want to edit this book or help the author to make it better, you go here and you click on this edit link, and it will take you to this book's GitHub repository. You can fork this repository and then make the desired corrections, and then you submit it to the author and help the author improve the book. So I highly encourage you go over different tips in this book to make your output for this particular course visually pleasing. So some of the good practices for writing R code, doesn't matter whether you are using just the text file as a script, or you're using RStudio, or you're using R Markdown. You always cite R and the packages you're using to do your work. Always hashtag your annotations within the script to remind you what you did or what were you thinking when you created that particular function or used that command. Try to be as detailed as possible, but make it clean. Organize different pieces based on functionality. It will be useful later to create when you are an advanced user, when you are creating your own library or writing a package. Always check to make sure the data is read in properly. So when you are initially learning in and you are importing a data frame, and without even checking, if you proceed for doing analysis, it may be possible that the data that you read in was not correct. So I highly recommend that you always check the file header to see if the data that you wanted to import is in the right format. You make sure that each line of the code is written properly before moving on to the next line. This is very important when you are a beginner or you're learning this language, because I will provide you all the code initially, and all you will have to do is recreate those output that I will give you, and you will feel very tempted to just copy and paste all of the commands in the document and just run it, but that would not be wise. I highly recommend that you take one line at a time, run it, and then see what that line is doing. Understand what is the function doing, and how this data is being analyzed, and what does it mean when you use this command in a different way. It also helps you debug initially to check for commas, check for parentheses, because it's a programming language. If you even misplace a single comma or sometimes even a space, your script won't run. So please do not just copy and paste, just take one line at a time. Always check the output. After you run the line, it is possible to write a program that runs completely fine. It won't give you warning signs or any error messages, but the results would not be what you wanted. So always check the output of your program. So this was a brief introduction to R RStudio and R Markdown. And these are some of the additional resources, and one of the good things about R, all of these links are active. When you click on them, it will take you to a website. That these books and these lessons and these tips are all free. So please, if you want to learn the language more, or you want to go to a particular field, for example, R stats for agriculture, and so environmental computing, so depending on what field you are and how much you want to explore different options, please feel free to check these links out. So for this week's homework, you have to create your first R Markdown file and learn basic commands in R. And if you, it's due on September 3rd in the morning before you come to the class at 9:30 a.m. So if you click on this link, it will take you to my website, and this is your homework for this week. And it has 2 videos embedded in it, and that will teach you how to create an R project, RStudio project, and an R Markdown file. And till next week, thank you for listening.